to the SDG Media Zone live from Davos, Switzerland. We're broadcasting live on UN Web TV. Thank you all for tuning in. We have a panel here to talk about digital connectivity, the UN Broadband Commission, and also AI for good. We have here Mr. Houlin Zhao, the Secretary General of the International Telecommunication Union, ITU. We have Philipp Metzger, who is from the Federal Office of Communications of Switzerland, Director General. And in the middle, Ms. Kandal Parmar, CEO of Untapped AI. So we'll start off with the UN Broadband Commission for Sustainable Development, which is an initiative of ITU and UNESCO, and is really here to boost internet access, in particular broadband networks. Now, we're still seeing about 3.6 billion people offline today. And how is the Commission working to get these people online? What's the latest initiatives and news coming out of the Commission, Mr. Zhao?
Yeah, this is a very fundamental issue for the digital society. If we do not have people connected online, we cannot talk about the benefit of digital society. Viewing the importance of digital connectivity for the future, ITU and UNESCO jointly set up this UN Broadband Commission for Sustainable Development in 2010. So this year we celebrate our 10th anniversary. I'm very pleased to note that our commissioners, which are coming from all over the world, from industry, from government, from regulators, from NGOs, we come together to address the challenges and opportunities. And we are very pleased that this afternoon we just have a very special session jointly organized with WEF to talk about the current challenges and the current opportunities. And the current challenges is, as you mentioned, we still have almost the half population not connected online yet. No matter how hard we worked in the past, we already provide new technologies such as Internet of Things, big data, 4G and 5G to those people who connected. But we still have half population not connected online yet. So this is a big challenge. And we, this afternoon, raised this issue to our commissioners. And they give us very good advice. And we focused on several issues. For example, we talked about meaningful digital connectivity. Meaningful. We also talked about the digital financial mechanism. And we talked about good environment, attract investment from public and from private. And as Secretary General of ITU, myself, I put 4 I's on my priority. One is I is infrastructure. Second I is investment. Third I is innovation. And the fourth I, inclusiveness, not to leave anybody behind. So I'm very pleased this Broadband Commission worked over the last 10 years, provided a lot of valuable advices to a global community to guide them to put broadband highly on its national agenda, to provide them with guidance to see how can we make broadband useful to our ecosystems, and how can we address the issue of gender balance in this digital society. And so I'm very pleased that we made a lot of progress, but looking for the next development, we know that broadband still have a great potential for the future digital economy and e-society, so that we would like to continue to work on this important issue. And my colleague Philipp Metzger, who joined us since 2015, he played a very active role with his experiences as head of Swiss Telecom Regulatory Agency. But he's not only talking about this issue from his position as the Director General of Telecom Regulatory Agency, but he has also good understanding of the market, of the challenges from industries. So that his contribution is very much appreciated by the Commission. So maybe
Yes.
we could invite him to say a few words.
Yes, Philipp, you've been a long-standing commissioner, a member of this commission. From your perspective, what role does government play? What role does private-public partnerships play in financing and making these broadband networks happen?
Well, obviously, just if you speak about financing per se, I mean, we know that the investment sums are huge that are needed to develop all those networks and then connect everyone. And we're still lagging behind, as we know, with half of the world's population almost. And so I think if you look at what government does in general, we like to work for the public good. We like to make sure we have balanced societies. We have balanced ecosystems where all the stakeholders are involved and where decisions are taken jointly so that everybody can benefit ultimately. Of course, it's always a question of where you find the common denominator. So I think when we look at broadband, when we look at the digital development, what is absolutely key, much more than ever, is to bring all the stakeholders together and to create a joint commitment, set jointly the goals that we want to achieve, and then try to bring everybody on board and make sure no one is left behind. And that's a permanent struggle, that's a permanent challenge. And so you cannot just focus on the market, you cannot just focus on economic operators, you really have to see the society as a whole and then replicate that in the processes. And of course, if you think about what democratic processes we have, those are extremely important in the whole set up, because that's where ultimately society as a whole will decide where it wants to go. And that is something that we are trying to do at the national level, for instance by doing a national digital strategy where all the stakeholders are involved. This is no longer an era where government top-down can impose or dictate how things are going to play out. It's very much bottom-up, and government is here to see to it that there is a framework in place within which everyone can evolve into this digital society, into this digital world. And that's precisely what the Broadband Commission, of course, is doing as well, bringing together stakeholders from across the globe, from different backgrounds, and then trying to find recipes, trying to find ways and means that can be used by different stakeholders in different countries, because I think there's never a one-size-fits-all. And that's why it has been such a rewarding experience and such an honor to be a member of the Broadband Commission, precisely to continue living that in the international sphere, what we're trying to do at the national level as well.
Let me just add one thing, if you allow me. Exactly at our first joint meeting in Davos, 2015, our commissioner raised the issue that we targeted in 5 years to connect 1.5 billion online. From then it's about 3.4 billion and to about 4.5 billion in 5 years. And someone calculated that one, saying that to connect next 1.5 billion, you need 450 billion US dollars. Now, that is a message we shared at Davos 2015. After that, we talked to some financial institutions, including some like World Bank. World Bank said we don't have money for you because they have their own budget. It's not their budget item, so they do not have this money. But why the industry told us 450 billion to connect the next 1.5 billion people online? You are joking. It's not enough. One side 450 billion, we don't know where to find, and then the industry considers it's not enough. Indeed, it's not enough, because to connect the next 1.5 billion, it's not the 1.5 billion from the cities. 1.5 billion from those areas poorly connected, poorly equipped. And then you may have to invest more compared with you connect the 1.5 billion people from the cities. So that one, that is absolutely a challenge. And then, of course, we understand that, we have to create a good environment to attract investment from public, from private, mainly from private, to create a good atmosphere, environment, to have sustainable business model to get the investment there. So anyhow, we are very pleased that over the last couple of years, the industry is still growing, the investment is still coming, and of course, still we still have a half population not connected online yet. And this afternoon at our session, we talked about this issue, and then we have a lot of good proposals, and we will work on these proposals and try to develop policy guidance to offer to our global community to see how can we move faster.
Yeah, and it's not just about connectivity, right? It's about meaningful connectivity, as you mentioned, to make sure digital technologies are there to help us with jobs, with education, with health. Maybe this allows us to transition to Ms. Parmar and the AI for good. Like, how can artificial intelligence help us here? How can it help achieve all these global goals?
Well, I suppose just to go back to your point there about how to solve it, I suppose, and you said in the talk before, there's coming from innovative startups and entrepreneurs who are there thinking differently must add a lot. And I suppose because I run one and have been running one for 5 years, the innovation and the passion, yet when you're in bigger corporates or, it's how do you combine and bring all of that. But yeah, we use AI mixed with humanness to accelerate people at work. So we've got a digital coaching platform, but the work we've done, and we accelerate mainly women and mainly people of colour. And what we found with AI is that AI can actually increase your humanness, which sounds completely contradictory, but actually a human interaction is often not as efficient as it can be. And we all have lots of interactions humanly, and we want to make the most of those. But what AI can do is scan the data, look for patterns, and really help with self-awareness. And that's something which we're pioneering, and it's really exciting. I mean, I've been a psychologist for over 20 years, and I've never seen something as powerful as AI with the mind and what it can help do. So we can now predict burnout 6 months before it happens. So
ITU has also done some work on AI, right?
Yeah. Although I will not advise to come here to talk about AI, but this is a good topic for us as well. AI is technology. It's not that new. It's already for decades and decades. And at this moment, we talk about AI. We talk about the deep learning. We talk about many things. And then, in my opinion, this kind of things now is still very hot in our industry. Now, very, very, very good things, that happened 3 years ago. IT was approached by our top expert from US AI world to ask us if IT could organize AI for Good Summit. So that was quite new to us, and then we considered that if the industry want to have this kind of summit, why not? So we organized the first summit in 2017 with around 550 experts, mainly from US industry, universities, top AI experts. For those who are very famous in US, most of them came to our event. But why they came to ITU? They already have a lot of forum, a lot of platform. But I think that the industry researchers consider that AI should now have good cooperation with public authorities, with other partners. And when they talk about the public authorities, of course, the United Nations could be the right one. And then among our United Nations agencies, ITU seems to be technical agency much suitable for this one. So they came to us. But we organized that one. And then we do not know that we should continue this. But after the first session, first version, 2017, and then 2018, we come back again. We want to have another one. So that we organized the second one. This time we have some Europeans come to join us. And then last year, 2019, 2018 we had 650 participants. And the last year we had 2,500. So that is getting momentum as a UN event. And one is very special. that attended at these sessions are not only experts from industries, the UN agencies also join us one after the other. The first session we had 2017, we had 22 UN agencies. And then 2018 we got 32. And
how many women did you have in the last one?
yes, women is relatively small. But then I'm talking about UN agency. UN agency we had about the last 2019 we had around 37. So now IQ is encouraged by UN colleagues to further continue this way. And then, during these discussions of 3 years, still my belief, the AI is still at the early development stage. We should not hurry up from public authority to try to establish regulations, rules. Of course, now we talked a lot about ethics. We talked about the negative part of the AI, reduce the jobs, or sometimes, like drones, you could use this as weapons to attack the enemies and to kill people. So all this, that is the issue. We try to talk, but anyhow, again, generally speaking, still, this is at the early development stage. The time is not that urgent for us to jump in to establish regulations. So that is my advice to the event, that we have to stay with our industry and keep our industry interested to stay with public authority like UN to continue to address the issues when they come to the point. Of course, industry may wish to get some regulations, then we should work on the regulations. And then this AI, let me also give you a good idea. First session, second session, we are mainly participated by the top level so-called experts from US and from Europe. But while 2019, IQ did not offer any fellowship. We have more than 250 participants from Africa. And as far as the gender issue is concerned, unfortunately, it's not that much. That's still relatively low. And we noted that in ICT field, that IQ is pushing to have gender balance. We work together with young women to launch the Equals program. And IQ developed a very special day, that is the ICT Girls in ICT Day annually. Today we already have more than 150 countries celebrate this day. That is the end last week of April, Thursday. So that we have a lot. But still, no matter how hard we tried, we know that in ICT field, the women's participation is still low. From the IT side, we know that it's around 30%. It's increased, but it's still around 30%. And we had our last meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh, World Radio Communicating Conference. This is the highest level technical conference in the world for the spectrum, for the new technology like 5G. And we had about 3,500 participants. And the women's participation, unfortunately, is only 18% of this total. But that is already improvement. If you look at some years back, in 2012, it's 12%. But
so
still, very low.
Women's participation, women's access is growing. It's all really about using tech for good, expanding access to women to least developed countries.
But the nice thing is, let me just also add, when I visited the African countries, in high-tech park, in the innovative center, in the startups company, you see that a lot of women entrepreneurs, marvelous, brilliant, they are very active.
They are there,
And they know AI. They like to offer local application with AI solutions. So these people, that and last year in September I was in Kazakhstan. I visited their top university. And I was very pleased to know that almost all the projects had the lady experts inside.
That's good.
So that is the first university I had such kind of high percentage of the women experts.
So maybe just to come back to this meaningful connectivity, and Philipp Metzger, maybe just to end with on a positive note of an example of meaningful connectivity, or how the Broadband Commission is driving that work.
Yes, I think I can say something to that. I think we have to bear in mind connectivity is, of course, a prerequisite for the entire digital development. So I think we'll have to, and that's what the Commission is doing, going beyond just connectivity, because it really depends on many factors of how we can evolve as societies. But if I think back, of course, I was in particularly involved in one expert group that was developing recommendations for policymakers on how the environment has to be framed so that it is enabling investment into all these networks. And you may know that we have some challenges in discussions between the traditional network operators, between the OTTs, who does what, who contributes how to the general good. And we had deliberately composed that group in a sort of, in a way that was reflecting these different interests with the goal and with the task to find common ground where those players who are sometimes adversaries in the marketplace can actually see common ground that can also be put to policymakers. And so we came up with a set of policy recommendations that hopefully are being taken to heart by the different decision makers, political decision makers in various countries, so that we have an enabling environment. So that's just one little glimpse of what the Broadband Commission is doing. Many of my colleagues are much more active in chairing other working groups, in working together also with civil society and different groups of stakeholders. And maybe just to end on that point, Houlin already mentioned the Equals program. I think particularly heartening for me, and that's the same at the national level really, where is the engagement, the exchange with the young people, because they are the futures. They are shaping the digital space more and more. Of course, we have to be mindful also of the offliners, especially also often of elderly. But I think we're feeling really a very strong engagement and strong interaction with young people, more also young women, although that remains a challenge, at least for my country, if I speak for Switzerland, when it comes to the technical work. But that was certainly something which came about, which is very strongly represented in the Broadband Commission's work, and I think that is the future.
Here, let me add, at our meeting this afternoon, we also talked about this kind of meaningful connectivity, data connectivity. And we targeted that of opportunities to our children in the school to be connected. So ITU jointly worked with UNICEF to launch a project last year when we met in New York called FIGA, to try to go to different development areas such as Central Asia and Africa and East Caribbean, to have some pilots to see how can we provide better connectivity to connect the schools there. Of course, to connect them is relatively easy, but to teach people how can you use this digital system, that is a challenge. And then we would like to see that with such kind of project we can provide our children with digital skills to use our digital systems. And talking about the AI, we have another information I'd like to share with you. Last year we worked together with WHO, World Health Organization, to establish an expert group we called AI for Good Health expert group to address the public health care challenges and issues, and try to see if we can use AI to develop some standard to quickly equip the community and hospital. So a lot of things to be done. Of course, we very much value about the contribution from our industry, because it's our industry who develop technologies. It's our industry who use AI to provide solutions. So that we, as I mentioned, we are very grateful with industry's initiative to invite UN ITU to organize AI for Good Summit, and we shall not let our industry people are disappointed. We should go together with them to work, for this important issue.
Yeah, and Kendall, maybe a last word on tech for good, for AI for women, for youth, from your perspective.
I think women can bring a really great perspective to you, to AI, which is the qualities that they naturally have, which are emotional intelligence, humility. There's so much to bring. So more encouragement of women in AI, creating the AI, is fundamental, especially when so much of AI now is the augmentation of a human and AI. Mm-hmm. So humanness into AI to enable us to be more human is the absolute key.
Thank you. On that note, thank you to all the speakers, and all the best.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.